All right, Joseph. Well, thank you so much for joining me this Friday morning. Before I ask you anything, can you just kind of lay out, who you are, what you do? I know you work for the Houston Chronicle, but just for our audience, kind of just detail, I guess, who you are, what you do.
Right. Well, my name is Joseph Duarte. I'm a staff writer at the Houston Chronicle. I cover the University of Houston and the Big 12 conference at the paper. Been on the beat for 15 years and almost 30 years total at the paper. So my focus is college football and college basketball.
Awesome. And with that said, obviously, we're talking March Madness. Selection Sunday is 2 days away. Houston, you know, always a good team, always a team that people have their eyes on. Kind of a team that has disappointed in the end for a little while, but always a good team to watch out for. Man, I guess what have you seen? What have you seen from the Cougars recently? I'm in San Antonio right now covering high school basketball state championship, so I haven't really been in tune with the conference tournaments. But what's Houston been up to lately? What have you liked? What have you seen that you like from them?
Well, I mean, it's another typical Houston team. They're projected as a two seed. So, I mean, based on projections and sort of how this team's made up, this is a team built for a potential deep March run, and that just would be another one under Kelvin Sampson. They've got uh, a streak of it's going to be eight straight NCAA tournament bids. Six of them in a row here have been to the Sweet 16. Those include two Final Four. So, I mean, it's a new cast of characters, different makeup, but certainly the results have been the same. This is a younger team with Kingston Flemings and Chris Sinak, who both should go in the top 20 picks in the NBA draft. And that's the difference because the past teams have been very veteran led. So Kelvin Sampson's admitted, there's been some growing pains and some patience needed because while this Houston team uh, was again at the top of the Big 12, there were some issues and they've had to work through them. And they had a losing streak which hadn't happened in 7 years here, losing consecutive games. So uh, you know they're starting to gel, and you can see that things are coming along at the right time, and that's kind of sort of been the mo with Kelvin's teams in the past. They get hot and they get going at just the right time entering the tournament.
Yeah, and I mean, my next thing was going to be kind of just asking you about kind of the identity of this team. You hit on it a little bit there. It's a typical Kelvin Sampson team, but also a little different in terms of last year and maybe in years past. A lot of veteran guys kind of leading the way. This time around, some youth, some projected, like you mentioned, top 20 picks in the NBA draft. But if you had to summarize, what is kind of the identity of this team? What makes it different? What sets it apart from years past?
Well, the identity is for every Kelvin Sampson team is defense, the physical part, the hustle. A lot of people tend to say that there aren't many teams that out hustle Houston, but defensively, it's not as great as it's been in past years, but their good is pretty good, and it's on most nights it can carry them. Uh, Between that and the focus on rebounding, that's sort of what their identity has always been, regardless of who's there. But again, there hasn't been the things that, like last year they had LJ Cryer. He was a guy that could get hot at any moment and sort of carry you. They've had other guys in the past, whether like a Quentin Grimes or something. They have guys who can score, but it's not a consistent scoring, and that's sort of where the problems come up because they do have some lapses where offensively they go missing for stretches, and sometimes it puts them in a hole. Sometimes they get off to slow starts and they fall behind. Uh, to go deep in the tournament, it's very guard led, and you have to have people scoring. And right now, Kingston Flemings is about as sure a thing as they have, but he has off nights. And then you have an Emmanuel Sharp and a Milos Uzan. Those two guys are going to be key and got to get going if Houston's going to have any chance of getting back to the Final Four. And then it all comes down to staying out of foul trouble. They being physical. I think they're whistled a little bit different, and the big guy is Joseph Tugler, JoJo Tugler. He was the Big 12's Defensive Player of the Year last year. Just gets into foul trouble, but lately when he's on the floor, they're a different looking team, and it shows how good they can be because he hasn't fouled out recently in the last 4 games, and he scored in double figures and all. That's the key. If Houston advances, it's because JoJo Tugler is on the floor and he's just creating all kinds of havoc for the other team.
Man, you kind of hit on my next question too. I was going to ask, what are maybe some things that could hold this team back? You mentioned, maybe that they don't have a go-to super prolific scorer that can kind of just go off at a moment's notice. But I guess, and you kind of hit on this too. But what are some ways that they can overcome that? You mentioned, Milo Uzan and Emmanuel Sharp. They're veteran guys, dependable guys. But what are some ways that this team can kind of get around that, maybe they're not getting the greatest shooting performance, the greatest scoring performance. How are some ways that they can work around that and make a deep run?
I think a name to know in the a name to know in the NCAA tournament is Chase McCarty. He comes off the bench. Last year, he redshirted during their run to the championship game, but he slowly kind of had to find his role this year. Didn't play a lot early, but lately he's earned significant minutes. He had 20 points and 6 threes against Oklahoma State in that final regular season game, and then he came off the bench last night and hit a dagger three that put them up, gave them a little extra cushion when things were tight in the last 3 minutes. So he's a guy that if you could get some production from the bench, somebody like him, a Khalifa Sacco who kind of gives Tugler a breather here and there, and then a Mercy Miller who's another guard that he's shown that if he can get hot, he can hit some threes. Those are guys that will help maybe take a little bit pressure off of the starters. But I mean, make no mistake, when you get to the tournament, you ride with the five that got you there, and that's sort of Kelvin's deal. But he's not afraid to get those other guys involved as well.
Yeah, and I guess talking about kind of riding with your guys. Um, Coach Sampson obviously has been such a massive part. I mean, he is the figurehead of this new era of Houston consistent success. Obviously, they haven't been able to finish things off yet, but they're always right there. I mean, what for somebody who's around the team all the time, what's kind of the vibe? What's kind of the confidence level that Coach Sampson brings with the team? What I mean, what does he do that maybe coaches in the past didn't do that have helped elevate this program so much?
Right, and it goes all the way to recruiting with these players. They want to be coached hard. They want to, Chris Sinak, for instance, he said, "Look, I could have gone anywhere, but I wanted to come to a place that was going to develop me, even if it's just for 1 year." So there's that aspect of it, and Houston by no means is paying the most NIL rev share for basketball, but they're competitive. But the way they feel like these guys, if they're going to go to the pros, Kelvin's told me that these guys are going to make their money on the back end. So they want to come in. It's not about the money. It's about developing, getting better, and the results show it. Flemings was an All-American in his first year. Sinak has had a really good year. They both have started every game, so they uh, the common denominator in this is Kelvin Sampson, and I've seen uh, less talented teams that he's had go far in the tournament, and then when he has a really good team, they're on the brink of a few seconds more, and they probably beat Florida in the national championship game. So uh, it's just again the names change every single year, but this program between 5 straight 30-win seasons or on the verge of fifth and 8 straight NCAs and the Sweet 16s. I mean, he calls this is the age of Camelot for them, and it's sort of been that magical kind of ride.
Awesome, man. I think that's all I got on Houston.
Okay.
But before we move to Texas Tech, is there anything else you want to mention about the Cougars? Any predictions? Anything? Just before we
Yeah,
kind
I
of.
mean, if I were you, I'd maybe include the South. But when does this run?
Honestly, kind of to be determined. I think that we might put this on social at some point,
Okay.
but
Well, if just in case, so you have, I mean, they could play in the South region, which is in Houston, and that's very rare. So if you want a quick something on that, I'd be happy to give you something because that's going to be the storyline after Selection Sunday. So if it doesn't happen, you don't need to use it, but if it does, you have it in the can just in case you need it.
sure, yeah, yeah. Tell me about the significance of that.
So Houston was awarded uh, the South region way back in 2020, and as the host school. So under NCAA's rules, you're not allowed to play in a regional that you are the host institution. So back in the summer of 2025, Houston's athletic director Eddie Nunez started to explore the possibility of giving up those host duties. So he contacted the NCAA, went through a lot of petitions and waivers. And between that and the local organizing committee in Houston, they found a suitable replacement with Rice. So Rice will be the host institution for the South Regional at Toyota Center. And by that happening, Houston is eligible to play in a regional that's less than 2.5 miles from campus. That is rare. That rarely, if ever, happens. If you go back in the day, UCLA played some games in Los Angeles, and Butler was in the Final Four in Indy back in 2010, but it just does not happen a whole lot. So for Houston to potentially have or will have a home court advantage, yes, it's neutral site, but that says a lot when you can play that close to home. They dealt with it last year with Indianapolis and Purdue being in that regional. So maybe they think it's a little bit of a payback for them that they can have that chance. But if I'm a number one seed in the South, like Florida, I don't want to have Houston as the number two seed because it basically neutralizes your one seed, and being a two in Houston is about as good as being a number one anywhere else.
Man, yeah, that would be pretty cool. That would definitely be an electric atmosphere. Man, all right. Well, I guess let's shift gears to Texas Tech now. Interesting season for them. I mean, they've been really good. They've lost probably their best player, but they've kind of been able to just soldier on, without JT Toppin. Kind of similar to my first question about Houston. Can you kind of just give me a breakdown of this Texas Tech team? What you've seen from them, following them, day to day, or more often than an East Texas viewer.
I would have really have liked to have seen Texas Tech healthy for this tournament, just based on what they did last year and how close they got. JT Toppin, losing him to that knee injury, the reigning Big 12 Player of the Year, that was just devastating because you look at their resume. They beat Duke, they beat Houston, they beat Arizona. I mean, at one point they had about as good a resume as any team in the country, and now you move forward. It's a little iffy again because Christian Anderson is dealing with the muscle strain from that slippery mess of a court that the Big 12 rolled out for their tournament. So depending on his availability, or I've seen Houston a few years ago, they had an injury to Marcus Sasser in their tournament, and it sort of lingered for a few games into the NCAA tournament. So health is a big part right now, and not having Toppin is devastating. But if you don't have Anderson, or he's not 100%, that really hurts you. But they have Donovan Atwell. I thought he's played really well this year, and Texas Tech and what Grant McCaslin's done there, really, really one of those teams that if they get the right draw, and the guys that they do have right now are healthy, they can make some noise because not many teams shoot the three the way that they can. They can light you up. I mean, 16 threes, and not just one game this year. I think it was like three or four. I mean, that's the kind of games that those shooters that we talked about. If you can get hot and you have the right draw, you can advance in this thing.
Yeah, and you mentioned the 3-point shooting again from kind of the outside looking in because I'm not following the Red Raiders day to day like you probably are, but I see JT Toppin go down, and you kind of maybe expect that to suck the life out of the team and kind of end things early, but that obviously hasn't been the case. I was going to ask what's allowed them to kind of keep moving in this positive direction and kind of keep winning. You mentioned they're a great 3-point shooting team, that kind of thing. I feel like the Cinderella teams in March are always not that Texas Tech would be a Cinderella team, but they're the kind of teams that have a hot game or two or three from deep. Has that been kind of their main avenue to kind of keep winning? Is it their shooting ability? What's allowed them to kind of keep trudging on despite JT Thompson?
Yeah, it is their ability. I mean, they can put up points in a hurry. They can also play at a different pace. I saw them, in the Houston game in Lubbock. They can beat you in different ways, but the key is with Toppin, they were great and it was spread out, but you still had guys once he went down that can pick up the slack or can carry the load. We mentioned Anderson and Atwell, but I mean, if you go down the bench and go down the roster, it was never a one-man show. It's just that the guy that they had was pretty special. Kelvin Sampson was towards the end of the season said that, look, if he had to vote for a Big 12 player of the year, he was going to give it to JT Toppin. And I thought that showed the respect that he has for a guy that has been not just in the Big 12 among the best, he's been among the best nationally, but the supporting cast is what makes Texas Tech dangerous. And most teams, you lose a guy like Toppin, that's pretty much it for you for the term, or at least that's the perception. Not with Texas Tech. This is a team that in a lot of projections I still see as getting through to that second weekend. Now, does it happen? Again, it's about the draw and how you go, from game to game. But this team is not a team that I think just bows out after one game because of the loss of one player.
Yeah, awesome. I guess I mean I think that's maybe kind of all I got, unless you want to add anything
Yeah,
else about the
I think
Texas
we're
Tech
good.
game.
TCU's. That I think Texas is going to get five teams in. It'll be Houston, Texas Tech, TCU, SMU, and probably A&M. Now, Sam Houston is in the semis, I think, in Conference USA, so they could have a chance. I don't see the Longhorns getting in, so probably not worth talking about them. But
Yeah,
other than that,
you do see SMU though.
yeah, I think SMU gets in. I think they might be one of those playing games, but I think they get in. There was some news earlier. BJ Edwards, their top player, is going to be, excuse me, he's going to be back. He's missed like the last 5 games or so with an ankle injury. So you get him back, that helps. But uh, second weekend, I would probably think Houston and Tech are probably the two. I don't A&M. It's kind of like drawing names out of a hat, whether they get going or not. But TCU's kind of weird. They've got a close home loss to Michigan. I think they took who was it, Arizona to overtime, or excuse me, Kansas to overtime. They beat Florida. So and like we mentioned, they've got 4 guys that are double figures. So balance and being able to not have to rely on one guy goes a long way in this tournament. So uh, TCU could be a fun one. I think the Horned Frogs could make a little noise. I'm not sure that they can get far, but I think they can make some noise.
Awesome. Hey, and in March, you never really know, right?
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
Yeah.
If you're, what if you just stay out of that 8-9 game, and you're usually, pretty good. 5-12, that's usually there's an upset there. But yeah, just it's all, come Sunday, you'll look at the bracket and you'll think, okay, last year what was it? All 4 number 1s got to the Final Four. I don't think that happens this year, but I think you'll see a few upsets.